Hey everybody, Dutch Sense here. 11:32 a.m. Central Time on the 20th of February 2023. It's Monday here in the United States. Unfortunately, I have some bad breaking news. A new 6.4 to 6.5 earthquake has struck back in Turkey, and this fulfills what we were looking for to happen in Turkey, was for the magnitudes to go back up. And I've got a display capture turned on here just so you can see what I see ever so slightly better, but they have it currently at 6.4. I'd like to show you where it struck. So do you see how we're all the way down here? You see where it is? Okay, I'm going to go pull up the USGS plate boundary map to show to you on the USGS plate boundary marker. So there's our new earthquake. It is struck down to the far south by southwest from where our previous 7.5 and 7.8 struck somewhat further up to the north. And I will show you where the previous 7s struck and the previous 6s and where this new earthquake location is. So let's go put the coordinates in over on Google Earth. And I said it's not good news because it's on land, guys. All right, look, for instance, here's the nearest town, and we'll see if we got a street level view. We do have a street level view going through the town. Let's see. This was likely felt in the town. Probably caused some pretty serious, oh no. Look at the type of construction we got going on here, guys. Whenever I see cinder block stack structures, concrete roofs, and so forth, these kind of structures pancake and that kind of level activity. I hope that didn't happen, but we were looking for 6.0 level activity to return into a different spot than where the 7s previously struck. Let's just turn on our place marks, turn on our borders and labels, just so we can see. All right, here's Turkey and the previous earthquake. Do you see where it says Gaziantep? The previous 7.5 to 7.8 earthquake first struck west 20 miles of Gaziantep, and that's the big town here that got so much damage. And then following that up, a second 7.5 to 7.8 struck 60 miles north up here by Elbistan. So I'm going to measure from Gaziantep, 20 miles west of, to about 60 miles north here. Oh, whoops, let's get that out of the way. To about, okay, there's 60 miles north. Now our new earthquake, our new 6.5, has struck all the way down here, 90 miles to the southwest. Now why does that matter? Well, look what we're going along. We're going out to the west, going out following the plate boundary out to the west. Now I issued a warning for right in here. See where this lake is? We issued a warning for 6.0 plus level activity to spread over to the west. And I said southeast of Istanbul and west of the big earthquakes that currently took place over the past week, or actually 12, 13 days. It's been about 2 weeks since the big one hit. This is clearly in a different spot, 90 miles to the south by southwest of the previous large earthquake. I would say this fulfills the forecast. I just want to get a measurement and see how far off we are from the lake at the center. And I don't know the name of the lake, so let's just go find out the name. There we go. Right to there. It's 233 miles to Tuzgolu. I'm probably butchering the way that's pronounced. Let's just say 200 miles. I mean, if we go to the edge, it's 208. I'm trying to get things down within 200 miles or so, this is the earthquake we're looking for. It struck on the plate boundary, heading out across down towards Cyprus. So if you're just now tuning in, mid-range 6 is now struck at a different spot in Turkey, east by southeast of Istanbul. Here's Istanbul, and we are certainly east by southeast of there. I told everybody to watch 200 to 300 miles east by southeast from Istanbul. Look where that is. Okay, so I'm 200 miles off of my warned area. Magnitude spot on, time frame spot on. What happened? How did this happen? there's a new push that came through. A new wave came out of the West Pacific, and it went around the plate boundaries and came over to Turkey. Went up, around, over, back, and across into Turkey. A new push, a new wave came into the already breaking area and brought us back up from 4s to 5s, now to 6s. And the wave is reverberating in here. It's a standing wave of some kind that's bouncing through the plate boundary. It's dropping off the earthquakes along the way. And it's going to spread over to Europe even further, and we're going to see a new round go across Central Europe again. And it should be pretty much the same spots. We can reduce it down to the areas between our current sets of earthquakes. So, for instance, Rhodes is going to be struck, and then West Crete is going to be struck. Where the rings overlap here, it looks like a oval or eyeball shape right there in the middle where the two sets of rings. Okay, Western Crete and Eastern Crete, or just Rhodes and west of Crete. Then South Italy, and then we don't have anything marked across the rest of Europe, but we'll have to watch up here at Croatia again, right in the Adriatic Sea, and it could go up into the 6.0 level again. So it could be our second 6 coming into the area in the next several days. We have to watch for up to 6 to 7 days from today, which puts us to the 27th. Oh, man, I'm guessing this probably caused damage. Again, we get down to here into the area where the earthquake struck, and we've got towns where these buildings that are stone-stacked structures. The nearest town called Mizrakil. We also have Ataturk, and over to the west is our bigger town, which it looks like it's called Samandag. Samandag? Sorry, guys. I'm trying to pronounce words. I don't even know what I'm reading. Let's just take a look around the bigger town here. Again, look at the structures. 3 and 4 story high stone stacked cinder block and concrete structures. That's just one example of many. We could probably go down the road and find a whole bunch more. Yeah. Well, it looks like on this they're doing steel frame. Look at that. The newer construction might withstand this. But on the stone stack, like this, doesn't fare well. And anything above 6.6 stone does not flex very much, especially mortar between cinder blocks. If you're just now tuning in, a large earthquake has struck back in Turkey, mid-range 6, whether it's 6.3, 6.4, 6.5, somewhere in the mid-range 6 level. It's right on the plate boundary. It's the magnitude we were expecting in the time frame, within 200 miles of the area, 208 miles from my warned area. There are a few other earthquakes to talk about, but nothing significant sized right now on the rest of the planet. We're only talking about 4s and 5s. So right now you can see Earth looks like a pincushion. And we are now on day 8 or 9 since that first X-class flare, that X1.1 was, they said wasn't going to do anything. Well, we got a bunch of new deep earthquakes. Now we have the new X2 flare that's incoming. Should be a glancing blow, they said, but not fully Earth-directed, thank God. That being said, we have to pay attention to the seismic accompanying that. I'm not saying that's what caused this. I'm just saying we can expect a new flurry of activity because of the solar that's incoming. And this is a result of what came out of Europe, or I'm sorry, out of Asia, went over to Europe. You can see it pointing like an arrow. Let me back it out. Pointing like an arrow over to the west, a red arrow of previous earthquakes over the past week, with the 5 in the middle and 4s all around it, pointing over to the west, letting us know an incoming wave was coming in. That's how I knew. That's why we told you to watch for this. So it's going out over to the west. Next stop is over in Italy, Croatia, Central Europe, going around the outside edge up into Romania again. Romania should be struck over in eastern Romania this time. Let me get the town names over in eastern Romania so they can just go ahead and get ready now. Over here, right on the east side of the South Harghita Mountains. What's the name of this place? Buzal, Ramaksarat, Foksani. You see the area over here I'm talking about, right? The eastern side of Romania right here. Matka. Okay, you see the names of the towns in here. I don't know what the biggest town is. I don't know how to pronounce it. Bacău is probably the nearest town. It's the biggest. And the magnitudes could go back up to 6 as well. But this time it's in eastern Romania instead of southern Romania. You got to remember, southern Romania just got a 6. It's pretty rare. Or 5.7 now. They downgraded it, but that was earlier this week. Now a new incoming push is getting ready to happen. I mean, the wave is already here. Speaking of the wave, just so that everybody can understand what I'm talking about, I'm going to show you a video really quick, and let me get it open here. We may hear a commercial play, and if it does, I apologize. I'll mute so that you don't have to hear it. Let's see if a commercial plays. Yeah, hold on.
Do you like getting
One
high?
second.
I have the
Wow, that was the longest commercial I think I've ever heard. They were advertising cannabis products. Interesting, right? Okay, well, here, let me get the video open now. And what I'm going to show you here is the concentric the cannabis product got your attention, right? Take a look at the screen. Concentric standing waves, focusing in on themselves in the wave tank here. And what happens is the wave focuses in on itself, and it can't compress down into the fluid much. And it goes straight hammering up the full combined force of the wave into what's called a singularity or spike. Now, this is in a wave tank, but I want you to imagine this happening down below the plates. Now, this matters because the deep earthquakes. This is what I think is happening with the deep quakes down below the plates. First, this is over hundreds of miles, if not thousands of miles, of very low frequency wave is focusing in on itself and hammering into the underside of the plate. Then, coming up through the plate, and let me get a view here. Coming up through the plate, we then see an equal spread of the same sized earthquakes spreading out in what's called a standing wave. Let me show you what a standing wave looks like. So what's going on here is at one end of the tank, or this end of the tank towards us, or at the other end, or both ends, can compress. They can push towards each other like a sandwich, and then pull apart. And they can pump energy in by doing one or both of them. And each time they hit this from one end or the other, it sends another wave out. Now that goes down off the one end and reflects back into itself. As it reflects back and goes the other way, look, the wave pumps itself up. It doesn't become disorganized and chaotic in the tank. Instead, it becomes organized. Now what I'm going to do is park my mouse over the peak of one of the waves. Now watch. Peak, valley. Peak, trough. Or the valley or trough, bottom of the wave. So peak, middle of the open area. Peak, middle of the open area. I don't have to move my mouse. It just stays there, right? You see how it just keeps touching it over and over again as I park my mouse there? Now what's happening here is the wave is forming into a standing wave. They're pumping it. Look how big it gets, right? Look at that. Now, I think this is happening over a very large distance, and it's hammering in from the underside of the plate and spreading out, following the plate boundaries, which goes into the plate boundary map I show all the time from the USGS. The red lines here are containing that standing wave, and it's dropping off the same sized earthquakes across a huge distance. So here to here to here to here. And you'll see the middle points get filled in. The middle points that are open now are like the bottom of that wave in that wave tank. So the trough. And then the next wave comes in, the peak. And I think it's where the peak is happening. Anyway, this wave starts down below the West Pacific, this standing wave, and it spreads out following those red lines from the USGS, or just following these arrows, and it's focused in over here to Turkey. Focused in? What do I mean? It's gone over across the Indo-Australian plate, up and around through Myanmar, through China, with that arrow of earthquakes that I showed you just a few minutes ago. I'll show it to you again now. There they are, forming like an arrow or a triangle pointing over to the west. And where does that point to? It points right to the pinnacle tip of the arrow, goes right here, right? You see our arrow has an arrow. What's there? That's this, the plate boundary. And then we go over to the west through Iran and leads us right into the spot that's breaking at Turkey. And it's breaking and heading over to the west further. The wave is trying to spread, and it should spread up into the dead end of the plate boundary at Italy, break at Croatia. And let me show you what we have at Croatia. Right behind Croatia at Bosnia. So it should break right at the tip of the arrow and then go three ways, around the outside edge, over to Romania, and over to Italy. And of course break in the middle. So three earthquakes, like a prong, or trident, going around the outside edge of Europe one way, through the middle, and up, and then back down to the Azores, or out through Gibraltar to the Azores. Now, if the push is big enough, and we come in and we break up here further north, up in Italy, let's say I'm wrong. The earthquake doesn't strike in the Adriatic Sea out here. Let's go show you what's there. See the red line of the plate boundary here? Let's say I'm wrong, and it doesn't hit here off the coast of Croatia, Bosnia, and so forth. And instead, it hits all the way up here and breaks on the edge of the plate boundary that dead ends into the Swiss Alps. Then the seismic wave will go across, or try to go across the craton of Europe, and will break out here at the English Channel, and then further north up near Iceland again. And it should be significant size movement. We've got sixes coming across again now. And this is not an aftershock. This is a 90-mile away quake at a different spot 14 days after the original sevens. And the original sevens, one was 90 miles to the north. The other was another 60 miles further north than that. 150 miles north. So this new 6-point whatever that just hit struck basically 150 miles south of the last big one. And it's south by southwest of it. I was warning at the lake there at the center, and I'm 208 miles off from the center of that lake. I'll call that an earthquake forecast hit. I'm trying to get it down to around 200 miles. If it's 208, that's the earthquake we're looking for. I'm going to save this as video. Everybody needs to see it. I'm sure there's going to probably be some earthquake news maybe popping up, possibly over on Twitter. I don't know if the mainstream media will cover this because they know I issued warnings for this for the last several days. And there's a big feud between me and them, or them and me, I should say. Not me and them and me. They have a problem with what I'm doing. But I'm just going to go ahead and search Turkey on Twitter and just see what our latest news is. Breaking news, Turkey-Syria border hit again by a 6.4 earthquake. Yeah, guys, oh no. Oh no, all right, hold on. Yeah, you can see it here on the screen here, but I'm gonna make it full screen. I'm just gonna show it really quick, guys. I don't wanna, we got collapse, Bill, it's nighttime there. Right? No? It's not nighttime there. 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 p.m. It could be dark there. It could be dark. Going on 6 p.m. there. 7 p.m. Okay, it might be just after sunset. Okay, it could be dark there. Okay, people posting shaking lights, shaking chandeliers on Twitter. That's going to be somewhat normal to see. But there'll be collapsed buildings on this, guys. Just in another 6.3 earthquake. This is... I don't know if these are old shots. I mean, these look like shots from the original quake, but... Oh, hold on. Oh, no. Yeah, we got collapsing buildings, guys. Hold on. Earthquake going on here, right here. They're all... Trucks shaking. You got dust blowing out there from a collapsed building of some kind. Oh, man. That's terrible. Okay, guys. So, yeah, I mean, 7 minutes ago, I-24 News English. Where's this from? Global News Broadcast to 73,000 followers. They broadcast out of the Mideast and Europe. Okay, yeah, they're a legit news source. Okay. That's not good. Looks like everybody got out in the streets, thank God. Oh, wow, we got the power outages going on. The blue flickering, a lot of people will message me about and ask, is that directed energy? No, guys, that's going to be the power systems with the wires, the way they've got them set up, especially overseas. You get a lot of shorting out between wires. There's a lot of, a lot of bad electrical, if you want to put it that way, where the wires touch against each other. They're not supposed to sway against each other, but when an earthquake hits, they do, and in the United States, they're using shielded wire and many strands together and so forth, whereas they're using single wires, like 100,000 of them all together in one pole. Okay, anyway, yeah, this is enough, guys. We got a fairly significant earthquake over in Turkey, and videos are being posted of some significant damage, power outages, collapsed buildings, and so forth, and that's just what's come out in the past few minutes. What's going on here? Guy's there right now, looks like he's freaking out a little hard. Don't blame him. Now, here's the deal, guys. I mean, I'm 200 miles off, but we warned for the magnitude and we warned for the time frame. I'm not bragging or beating my chest or anything. I just, as an earthquake forecaster and somebody who's into science, I have to tell you, I issued warnings for this for the past few days. And this is not an aftershock. This is 160 miles away from the last 7 and 90 miles south of the original 7. It's the plate boundary that's shifting, and the wave that's coming through there is what's causing the shift. The seismic wave, and I think it's very low frequency, electrical in nature, and passing through the plates and around it, but I can't prove that yet. All I know is that the earthquakes are equidistantly spaced, they're the same size, they're showing all the signs of a standing wave, and they flow around things. They get trapped in areas like in that wave tank, and if you pump it up more, the waves increase. We go from 4s to 5s to 6s to 6.5. We've gone up 100-fold increase in power at a different spot that previously broke. Same general region, though, proving that the plate boundary is shifting there, which we already know because a 200-mile-long surface fissure fracture formed in the ground along the Anatolian Fault. Enough information there, guys. Let's save this as a video, get it out over on YouTube. Everybody needs to see that the area that we warned has been hit by the expected magnitude in the expected time. Again. Much love to all my viewers out there and to the people in Turkey. We issued the warning for the first large quake. Warned for a 6, a 7 hit. We issued a warning for the second large quake. And we said a similar sized earthquake would hit. 7.5 hit within 12 hours. Then, now this, issued the warning for a 6 to 6.5 and a 6.3 to 6.5 hits, and I'm 200 miles off. Time frame spot on, country spot on, 200 miles. I'm trying to get it within 200 miles as my ultimate goal for earthquake forecasting, where I can sign off. In this case, we're at 208. Much love, everybody. Seriously, before I go, do you have an earthquake plan? Over in Turkey and overseas, they tell you to get out of the buildings and to run outside. If you're running outside, do you know where to go so you don't get hit by something worse than if you were inside? Now, these pancaking buildings that fall, in this case, a 6.5, probably won't take down as many buildings, and not just probably, certainly won't take down as many buildings as the 7.5 and 7.8. But even one building's one too many, especially when there's people in them. So I'll just say it, you need to know what to do. You need to know your surroundings, know what kind of building you're in. Steel frame buildings, wood frame buildings are going to fare better than stone stack. Stone stack, I mean brick, I mean cinder block. And concrete, too. Concrete with rebar in it, it can help, but it still can pancake. And the pancaking happens with 6.0 plus quakes usually, due to the ground shaking laterally back and forth. And we know stone does not shake very well. It doesn't bend very well. That's why you have to know your building, home versus work. Do you run outside or you shelter in place? If it's the middle of the night, you might not have time to get out of the building. It's just the way it is. 4-story stone stack structure. You'd have to go down 4 or 5 flights of stairs in 10 seconds when an earthquake hits. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to make it down 10 flights of stairs in 5 seconds or 10 seconds as an earthquake is hitting. And by that time, by the 10 seconds, those buildings are collapsing like we saw in the last video. Now, the good news is with a 6.5, it's going to probably just cause things to fall off shelves, things to get knocked over, and a few weakened buildings and buildings that are not very strong, of course, those to be destroyed in an earthquake that size. But the only consolation I have for you is that there was a warning issued for it. I tell all my viewers and the general public, you need to have an emergency kit, not just a plan. You need to also have the appropriate items, a change of clothes, a set of shoes, seasonal specific in case it's cold outside or hot. You'll have to change your emergency kit clothes every once in a while based upon the seasons. Now, you also need food and water. The food, yes. Water, certainly you need it within the day, especially during a disaster. Now, I don't know if you're going to carry around 8 pounds a gallon water with you, or are you going to carry a pump that you can somehow pump brackish water or nasty water and get clear water out the other side? That'll be a choice you make. You should have your food and water taken care of for at least a few days. And with the food, I'll just say it, prepackaged granolas, high protein, high sugars and high proteins. But not like a steak. You're not going to be carrying around steak and cooking steak on night 1 of a disaster. If you are, you're the biggest jerk in the world unless you're giving it to someone else. But you guys will come up with good solutions for food and water and clothing, batteries for your flashlight so you don't have to use your phone, a way to charge your phone so you can communicate, maybe via text message or phone if you can get a signal. IDs and keys, blah, 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 blah. You need to have it in a bag. It'll come in handy for everything from an earthquake to a fire to a flood to an evacuation for anything. Or maybe even if you just lose your keys, you'll still have an extra set in the emergency kit. I'm just reminding you, you need to do it. The people in Turkey, you need to do it. You need to have an emergency kit that covers you for several days with the food, the water, the clothes, all that crap. But I'm just reminding you, old Dutchie just reminding you, not trying to nag you or anything and harp on you. Much love, guys. Be safe. Let's save this now as a video and get it out over on YouTube.